Fresh GDP numbers came in and it was a blowout, the kind of blowout that only $2.7 trillion of government debt can buy. In fact, if we control for federal spending, the private economy actually shrunk a lot. Another couple blowout reports like this, and Americans will be living under an overpass. First, the numbers. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reported GDP for the fourth quarter came in at 3.3% annualized, which blew away estimates of 2.0. And it brought growth for all of last year to 2.5%, which is a very healthy number on paper. Note, the numbers are preliminary, so they're subject to revision. Still, the regime media rolled out their finest adjectives. CNN called it shocking in a good way. The New York Times called it stunning and spectacular. So what's the problem? Debt. Your grandkids bought all of that and then some. To see why, in the past 12 months, the federal deficit increased by $1.3 trillion. Yet we only got half that in additional GDP. In other words, everything else shrank. It's even worse for that brave and stunning Q4. There we got just $300 billion in extra GDP for, wait for it, $834 billion of new federal debt. Remember that GDP is not measuring wealth, it is measuring spending, so production which is sold. Now, mainstream media, including mainstream economics, pretends that GDP is wealth. So you'll see articles celebrating GDP as prosperity. And that's close enough when it's private firms or individuals producing more to sell more. That indeed is a very good proxy for the country getting richer. But it's actually the opposite when it's the government spending, because government's job is to take perfectly good wealth and light it on fire. That means that when GDP is growing from government spending, it is not measuring wealth, it is measuring dissipation of wealth. Essentially, the pace at which we're going Soviet, replacing private wealth with government waste. So translating that brave and stunning GDP into the real world, we are destroying wealth at rates not seen since 2008, papered over by government deficits. This actually lines up with what we've seen in jobs. In a recent video, I mentioned that over half the jobs last year were actually government and government-related social service jobs. That's jobs created. In some states, it was literally more than all the jobs created. In other words, the private sector is actually shrinking. All those government jobs, of course, are unproductive. They're not making us more prosperous as a society. On the contrary, they're taking wealth earned from productive activities and squandering them on vote buying or worse. So just think of the wealth destruction footprint of a single EPA bureaucrat. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. The lapdog media will keep playing along with the government statisticians and the gaslighting academics. They'll keep trashing regular Americans for posting our grocery bills and mortgage payments, praying they can maintain the illusion long enough for the next election. Fortunately, there are millions of us who can see the emperor is buck naked. Read the whole article with charts and all at preciousmetals.com. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.